Okay, so you want to go flawless this weekend. Well, let me just go ahead and spit out the numbers for you. Essentially, what we've got going on this weekend is about 1 out of every 10 Guardians that have participated, or 1 out of every 10 accounts at least that has participated, has gone flawless. That's a pretty low number, guys, because essentially what we had like last weekend was about 1 out of every 6 Guardians, and then the week before that was like somewhere around that same area, like 1 out of every 5 to 6 Guardians as well. And so, you know, that's 1 out of every 10. That means people are having a definitely tougher time. Now, let me just go ahead and give the spill on the weapons you're going to see a huge migration to. You're going to see a lot more, hand cannons being used because, let's face facts, guys, palindrome is pretty fucking nasty now, or any hand cannon in general because of that initial accuracy. You're going to see a lot of wormwoods. You're going to see a shit ton of no land beyonds, a few icebreakers. Mine, of course, is a very good choice as well, and I like trespasser. And so those are the 6 weapons that are on Guardian GG, man, or on Destiny Trials Report that is showing to be the most, I guess, common weapons you would run into. But let me just go over a little spill on what we've got going on in Trials this weekend. So as you know, with the most recent patch, man, Special got nerfed, and you only spawn in with Special on round 1. Then every round after that, you have no Special, and you essentially would have to wait 30 seconds to get Special. So a lot of people have taken the approach of just rocking a sidearm because you spawn in with Special, and that allows you to at least get cap points. See, in my opinion, it is more beneficial for you to get set up on cap point with your primaries than it is for you to sit there and wait for Special point and then move to cap point. Cap point, by the way, is out in B zone. And so I don't necessarily believe that sitting back, waiting the 30 seconds to get special ammo is advantageous for you and your team. So essentially what we would do every single round is we would try to just rush, B point. Now, at the very beginning of the game, if we wanted to rush inside and fight it out and duke it out and kind of get a feel for the team, we would do that. But for the most part, we would want to really govern who controls outside, who controls cap point. You will run into a lot of no-landers, man. And so the thing about no-landers, dude, they're going to want to get in a situation where you're going to peek and stuff like that. They're going to want to get the angle on you. So I saw a lot of no-landers simply enough feel more comfortable inside. This just gives you the leg up, man. The thing about no-landers, man, all you have to do with people that are rocking no-land is just don't challenge, man. You're going to aggravate the piss out of you. Eventually, what we saw from people using no-land is they got so tired of us not challenging and sitting outside and waiting by cap point, man, because, I mean, here's the thing. I'm not going to challenge a no-land. I tried challenging a couple times yesterday with Jade Rabbit. I landed 2 crits to go for the killing blow, and the motherfucker still hits me in the head. Come on, man. There has got to be some flinch involved in no-land. And I'm not saying that no-land doesn't require a little bit of skill or anything like that. I'm simply stating that if I'm popping you consistently in the head and critting you, there should be no reason for that damn gun to still land a crit shot on me, because I know your sights aren't on my fucking head. I've seen the shots no land has been hidden. And so, that's something that's aggravating to me. So essentially what we just got into a situation was, controlling cap point, man. Just control cap point, sit out there with primaries, and eventually they're actually going to swap off of no land and try to pick up a primary. And that brings us to primaries, man. What are the primaries that I myself was using this weekend? I tried using Jade Rabbit a little bit yesterday, but there's so much movement around outside area that Jade Rabbit wasn't reliably doing the job for me. Jade Rabbit's really good if you can get up and post up and collect yourself, but it just I wasn't feeling it. And so Mighty Multi-Tool was super good for me. I felt very comfortable with Blind Perdition. Blind Perdition was working really well for me, and if you want to know the truth, I still rock high caliber rounds out on my Blind Perdition. It does not flinch like it used to before, but it flinches like a pre-patch pulse rifle would flinch without high caliber rounds, which essentially is a little bit of fucking flinch. So a little bit is better than nothing, and so I went ahead and just throw high caliber rounds on it anyways. Blind Perdition is a very good weapon still, by the way, guys, and definitely within the more competitive archetype. Now, there is an outlier. There is an area, a gray area that I would say the Guardians that we ran into that absolutely, we got raped by a team yesterday, and let me tell you what they were using. They were using spare change, and they had the fucking god rolls. They had a counterbalance, hand laid stock, spare change, and guys, I have never been so consistently two bursted in my life. So much so, man, that it was the most aggravating to die as fast as I died yesterday against that guy. And it wasn't like I wasn't strafing. Man, I was strafing as fast as I could. This guy, though, man, him and his friends, man, they were just landing those shots. And those weapons, man, that archetype does so much damage now. And they've given it the buff to rate of fire. And I'm glad it does, guys. I'm not against spare change and Parthian shot being a thing. By no means am I. And so they just had the better weapons. And that was resulting in them winning out in every primary fight and confrontation that we were running against them. With that being said, this really got me into thinking what subclass would be best as far as carrying, man. That is a tough one for me because I cannot find it. I tried Golden Gun a little bit. We tried out some other things a little bit. I tried out Sunbreaker, but every time pop hammers, man, people just they fucking out of there. They are gone. Golden Gun pretty much essentially the same thing. Defender Bubble has always been one of my favorites for carries because it comes in really clutch in situations. But the thing about Defender Bubble that I really want to point out is before we used to rock Armor of Light in our Defender Bubble because shotguns, man, was such a big deal. I don't rock Armor of Light anymore. I really go Blessing as a Light every single time because a lot of times people are not going to challenge the bubble. They will push you to come out of your bubble. And so if you want to start rocking bubble, and I will say, guys, bubble, rocking a 5.52 build on my Twilight Garrison with suppressor grenades is actually very beneficial for fucking people up out of their supers. You can land your grenades and stuff like that, man. When people are coming around corners with the roaming supers, you will mess their shit up. And I gotta tell you guys that was actually been the build that I was using more consistently yesterday that I was enjoying a bunch. And so that's probably what I'm gonna kind of be leaning more toward for the rest of this weekend in terms of carries. But as far as your team comp and say you and your friends want to do trials and go through trials with Cyrus, guys, I have to say this week more than any other week of trials you have ever played is going to require you to have good team shot. It's going to require you to have a good primary shot and for you to collectively push together and get set up. The biggest issue I saw from certain teams we were going against is simply enough that getting set up is by far the most. When I say get set up in areas that you will actually be able to play the defensive strategy versus playing the offensive. It's so hard that once somebody actually caps outside, it's so hard to push on that because, if you try to go down different lanes or something like that, essentially they can turn that into a 2v3 or a 1v3 extremely quickly. And so getting set up outside on cap point, you need to always be trying to fight for cap point. I see so many people go inside, and you're seeing a lot of gameplay of us going inside, and that was just us kind of like getting a feel for the team. We get a little impatient. We're just kind of just fucking around. But if for instance, when we're gonna do Sherpa runs later this evening, I'm gonna say, guys, I'm gonna immediately go for cap point, and I'm literally just gonna try to hold out and play the defensive game every single time on that point. It's a very tough week, guys. It's a very tough week. There's low numbers. 1 out of every 10 accounts going flawless. That is very low numbers, record low numbers in terms of trials. Not from trials participation. Trials participation's been fine. It's the fact that overall, the fact that Guardians are not going flawless are having a much tougher time in general, and that is, I think, a lot to do with this special nerf, man. I think that has a lot to do with it, and so that's gonna pushing people more or less to have more team comp in terms of having good team shot together, and it's definitely, I think, in my opinion, more difficult for carries to be taken to the lighthouse. Guys, as always, man, I will be on here in a couple hours. I got some family coming over, man, so we're gonna be doing all that stuff. And as always, guys, thank you so much for coming and watching.
Slap that like button like your mama told you right.